thank you very much for the warm welcome tonight. Very proud to come along here, and just a bit of history about our dealership and our dealer group. We're part of the AEVA's proprietary limited companies. It's currently merging to be the largest corporate automotive organisation in Australia, right across the entire country and also New Zealand now. Most tonight, obviously, even though we represent lots of brands, we have and more manufacturers over the last, say, 5 years, as you would well know, have been going further and further into hybrid and full electric technology. Tonight, obviously, representing Nissan and this fabulous new LEAF that's outside. We only got this car from Nissan on Monday, and we've had it out to various councils and business clients, and been experiencing it ourselves as far as drive goes. And for an uninitiated electric driving person, I find that my impressions with it is it feels very normal to drive. So for us is that to introduce a full electric car to a customer previously, we've had customer feedback that it's quite daunting and that they think that it's different and maybe too different for them, and they've moved away from it. It's not just the cost. Whereas I find with the LEAF, it is, even with the e-pedal setup and everything else in it, it's something that you get used to within a day. It's very, very simple and very easy. I know that you'll have questions later on, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my ability. I've got reference material. I've also put some brochures for the new LEAF on the table over there. But without further ado, we'll get into the presentation. So obviously, this is the new model LEAF. The previous LEAF was, Nissan would say, probably not the success that they would have liked in Australia. And it had some drawbacks like anything with the earlier generations. I think you would agree that the new LEAF looks more like a normal hatchback car. In a car park now, if you saw that car, if you didn't know what it was, you'd probably think it was a normal vehicle as such. So talking about charging facilities, recently when we had the presentation from Nissan, they were saying and showing us an expanded rollout right across the country of charging facilities. Queensland is apparently leading the way with that. The entire East Coast has got charging facilities, but South Australia is certainly having a great take-up as far as that goes. There's a lot more that's going on. Public charging, Nissan has partnered with Jet Charge. So I brought along some information tonight with the different charges that Jet Charge is offering, and apparently they're using they seem to have a really good coverage and network and customer backup service for that. I know a lot of the home wall charges are starting from $2,000 plus any extra that you may need in your home charging network just to bring it up to standard to be able to use it. So charging your Nissan EV. So at this stage, the main thing is with people, if they're just going to buy the optional trickle charger cable, they'll be able to charge their car up overnight. Just leave it on overnight. The fast charging it runs from 0 to 80% within 40 minutes, sorry. So 0 to 80% in 40 minutes is quite quick as far as these vehicles go. And we think that it's going to have less of an impact on businesses or private people as well. Running through, I don't know how up to date this is, once again. This is what they gave us at the presentation. But really they're saying that to charge your Nissan LEAF is about $8. So they're likening, say, a tank of fuel to about $8. So it's becoming more and more effective for people to change their business cars over to electric, to full electric in that way. Once again, using your solar home chargers and things like that, they're comparing with those items. I don't know whether you're aware, but Nissan LEAF is currently the only, as far as we're aware, the only vehicle that is able to discharge. So it actually has a plug-in off-the-grid function as standard, and the software to run this will be available. It's actually being launched by Nissan in around 6 to 8 months at this stage. So every car is capable. If someone buys one now, the discharge function will be available as soon as the software comes through. And at this stage, they're saying 6 to 8 months, and we'll have that. So Sally did give me some information, and from what we can gather is they're also entitled to get the storage as a storage device. They're entitled to get...
Not yet. We're pushing for that.
Pushing for that?
Yeah.
Because Nissan also gave us that information as well, and they were pushing, if we can get that through, it was an extra $6,000 rebate. So that will also be a big advantage as well in that way. So the two types of plugs that the LEAF has in the front of the car, it's not in the guard, it's in the front. You may have seen it. I had it lifted up earlier there. So it's got the Chatamo plug and the Type 2 plug as well. When we talked about travel, at this stage, your estimated range on these, and it varies depending on who you talk to, it's around anywhere from 260 to 280 kilometres in the LEAF at the moment. You've got different, it's hard because you've got different drive modes. You've got economy mode, and also you engage the e-pedal system, or you can have, say, a normal mode, which gives you full power. It does have a Bose low power consumption premium audio system in it. And you've also got extra functions in it, things like heated seats, front and rear, heated steering wheel. So there is a lot of upper technology in that. So yes, these are all questions that normal customers would ask the question if they run out of charging, of a charging situation, because this is what everyone that has a normal vehicle is scared of with a full electric vehicle. Obviously, they're worried completely run out, nowhere to go. Obviously, you can tilt trailer it, but to be fair, with the LEAF, it gives you plenty of warning when you're running down, when your charge is running down. If anyone runs it completely out, they're deliberately doing it, or with nowhere else to plug it in. So there is a lot of scare tactics being used with the industry before, with people with full electric. But really these days, with particularly the way that the fast chargers run, it's not going to be, and the more it's rolled out, obviously, the less issue it's going to be. The history of EVs, you guys will probably know more than what I do about the history of EVs. Nissan themselves actually had EVs back in 1947. So it's not something new to them. And the further generations that you've seen then, so 2014, 2017, the currently is the Nissan Note was the number one selling car in Japan, I think, last month. So EV is getting real traction, obviously, overseas. And this flow-on effect is what we look at for the future. I was explaining to a few people before that Nissan Australia actually has a big part in EV future for Nissan, because currently our Dandenong casting plant actually makes the major amount of our powertrain technology for the global EVs. So Australia's world-class standard that we have here, all those items get cast in Dandenong and shipped off currently to England, where this Nissan LEAF is made. So Nissan LEAF stands for leading, environmentally friendly, affordable and family vehicle. So it's been on sale in 51 markets. The ZEO LEAF, which was the first one, was launched in 2010 and it won World Car of the Year for EVs in 2011. This goes through the infrastructure that we know. I know that this is a couple of months old and it has been updated again since, but it does give you an idea how a lot of the charging points are progressing in Australia. So we get a lot of comments about range. People go, it's not enough range, and for country customers, totally valid. But for most people in town, like the average commute is 38 kilometres. So when we come home, we plug our phones in and we don't think twice about it when we charge it. And that's what we're trying to explain to people, that they buy an EV now, they get home at night and they plug it in just like they would any other device. So the range for most people isn't going to be an issue, but we understand for country customers at this stage, it's a lot harder. So this is the EV powertrain. As you can see here, these components, these inverter, the traction motor, those items are currently Australian made. And at this stage, it's going to stay Australian made. The battery pack that you see over there, I actually saw one of these on the ground. It's actually the same size as our previous LEAF, the battery pack. It weighs approximately the same, but it has a much stronger and longer lasting output. The battery location, pack location is in the floor, and they are working on newer updates all the time with battery packs as the batteries get better and better. So comparing to our old LEAF, we've got the new one here. You can see here that, and this seems to be a source of contention with electric vehicles, is you've got WLTP rating and NEDC rating. So there's two different ratings, and some manufacturers go off the NEDC rating because obviously it's a higher number. But in real world testing, that's what we run off, is a WLTP, which is 270 for the LEAF. Runs through, so the NEDC standard was from the 1980s. It's theoretical, whereas the WLTP is real driving data. So if you are looking at vehicles, I would stress, obviously, have a look and see whether the rating is WLTP, because at least you know that's factual. Because rather than theory, it's better. The colours of the LEAF are mostly metallics. You've got pearl black, magnetic red, the ivory pearl with a black roof, which I haven't seen yet. Apparently looks really good. Obviously the one outside is actually ivory pearl. It's a metallic white. Gun metallic, which is like a gunmetal grey. It's also hard to see the colours on here. Platinum, which is silver, and Arctic white, which is non-metallic. So at this stage, any of the metallic colours are a cost option. It's around $600 extra for the metallic paint, and there's no extra charge to have the black painted roof. So we go through some of the features of the new LEAF here. Once again, what we were talking about earlier, it's got the new front end design, alloy wheels. It looks like a normal hatchback. So basically from there, the intelligent auto headlights, the dynamic rear spoiler on the back, it's just smooth, streamlined, makes it quieter. The rear tail lights are they stand out at night. The new rear end design, well, it's got your smart safety features in there. You've got an all-view camera monitor, which it'll go through here shortly. So you've got your driver assist display on the dash, and it gives you lots and lots of information, and you can scroll through everything from tyre pressure monitoring to your current drive status. So it gives you your economy mode, so it helps to assist you to drive more economically as such. Your 8-inch multicolour touch display is fantastic because it's got your satellite navigation, it's got your Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so you've got all your audio features and any other items that you might like is all on that multifunction display. You've got blue accents around the car. You don't notice a lot of the blue items, but it's just a premium look inside the car. They don't do multiple models. There's only one model in LEAF, which is a premium model. The steering wheel gives that sporty performance. You've got the flat bottom on the steering wheel for better legroom and a more sporty style of steering wheel as well. Press button start, just like a normal car would be, and your normal, like a normal gear shift as such, so you tap it into drive, you tap it up into reverse, press the button on the top to engage park, and that's it. This is your vehicle information display. It shows you, once again, eco, power, your different modes that you have, your battery life, and it's changeable, lots of other information. So you've got ready mode, turtle mode is activated. Turtle mode would be, I haven't had it in turtle mode, we haven't tried it when we haven't dropped the battery down that low so it engages, but it will at least keep you going, whereas it cuts out most of everything and just runs you at low power, low speed to give you a bit of extra distance if you are completely running it dry of charge. So the multi-touch display, I explained about Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. This is the Bose energy efficient audio system. So it is a great sound system, but obviously you don't want it to drain your entire battery, but it works very well. You've got heated front and rear seats and steering wheel, as I explained earlier. You've got your black leather trim with suede inserts, which has a really premium feel. It's quite nice on there. Plenty of legroom in these as well. So it's got much more boot space than our previous LEAF. If you had a look at it in the back in there, there is plenty of space in that. So 405 litres in there. The expanded luggage space, the expanded luggage area, the seats will fold down. So you can get 700 mil to 1 metre space in there. So the driving modes in the car, D mode is performance mode. B mode is what we call the maximum regenerative braking. Eco mode is not as rapid response when you're accelerating away, but is your best for your storage. And you can actually combine both B and Eco to give you your maximum range on the car. It's a simple toggle switch that's near the shifter, as you can see up on there, and it works very well. They've worked really hard on noise, vibration and harshness. It's a common thing that manufacturers do, regardless whether it's a petrol car, electric or whatever. If you get the chance to drive the LEAF, you're always welcome to test drive. You'll probably be amazed by how quiet, not just even without the motor noise, but just how quiet everything else is externally in the car. No wind noise, road noise, there's hardly anything intruding into the cabin. So it's a very quiet experience. The weight distribution, they've had a lot of engineering goes into the weight distribution of the car to make sure that cornering stability is a real premium. So it handles very well. It's been tuned for Australian conditions as well in suspension wise. So your LEAF charging, all public charging stations. So you've got multiple sockets. And once again, we're going through the different sockets in here. So your AC charging, 6.6 kilowatt type 2s. The Schneider Electric, that's a Schneider Electric unit, the small unit over there, but there is a lot more units than just that one as well that are available. I've actually bought a list with technical data in there. If anyone has more in-depth questions about the wallbox charges and things like that. The wallbox charges are going to be able to be financed with the car if someone is financing a LEAF. So they'll be able to finance their wallbox charger as well as the car. The only difference to that would be if someone requires extra electrical setup for their home network. Quick charging stations. So it runs the 50 kilowatt capable Chatamo plugs. So that is the fastest option. That's the small unit that we're talking about with JetCharge they've partnered with. Now, unlocking your charge port lid on the front, I don't know if you saw me do it earlier, it simply is on the remote. You hold the button on the remote, or there's a little button inside and it will lock and it'll stay locked. So you can in confidence, walk away, leaving it charged, go and get your food or whatever else you want to do while you're waiting for it to charge. So battery status lights on this car, you can actually obviously see from inside. It actually gives you, if you open the door and jump in while it's charging, you can actually, on the main display screen down here, it'll actually tell you approximate time that it'll be finished charging. Other than that, if you look at the front of the car, there's 3 lights you can actually see from the front that light up from behind the windscreen there, and it gives you your different charges, shows you whether it's 66%, 90% complete, and that way it's easier just to have a quick glance and see where your charge is up to on the car. So the battery capacity is 40 kilowatt hours, power is 110 kilowatts, and 320 newton meters of torque, which is actually substantial for a small car. It's not slow. This thing accelerates, and the great thing about electric, as you know, you got peak torque instantly. When we drove it in Melbourne traffic, even on the highway, you actually have to be careful of how much you put your foot down because it will really accelerate away. The big thing that I found is using the e-pedal. I engaged the e-pedal. It's a really weird thing not to use your brakes. With the e-pedal, it's quite aggressive. And once you get used to driving it, I drove it entirely around Melbourne. It was well over an hour I was driving around and I didn't touch the brakes once. That was highway through stop-start traffic lights everywhere. It's one of those things that is really going to change people's driving habits and will also improve on your range. So it's just really the main thing with the LEAF, it's quite a flagship car for Nissan. So their goal is 0 emissions and 0 fatalities. Now, okay, that's a really high standard to put, but there's a lot of technology coming that is not available yet. But the LEAF is actually one of the first steps that they've got in that way. So Nissan is really keen to continue that. So this is running over the e-pedal. It just explains how it works. So it's a simple switch on the dash there. And like it's saying there, 80 to 90% of daily driving can be done with only the e-pedal. So you just don't touch your brakes on that. I've got some information on servicing costs as well. There is a cap price service plan for these, and I'll run through that at the end there just to give you an idea of how much the servicing is on these cars. But it's once a year or 20,000 kilometres for a service on these cars. So explaining about your acceleration, deceleration, brake, and it's got auto hold function, which is really good as well. Auto hold function is not anything new for us with some of our European cars or the modern petrol engine cars, but it is fantastic on a hill. Don't need to apply the brake, it actually auto holds. It's got a lot of the safety items that people are wanting in the newer cars, things like your chassis control, intelligent ride control, so it'll adjust the torque and just to work better, to give you a smoother ride and a more controlled ride and cornering. It's got emergency braking or autonomous braking, as most of us know what autonomous braking is done. So autonomous braking assists in whether you're distracted or not paying attention or anything can happen. It will assist in using the radar on the car to stop collision with or avoid having a large collision with pedestrians or other cars. And it's also got predictive collision warning. So if you are driving along and you are a bit distracted and you're not going to collide, but if you feel that the gap between you and the car in front of you, the car will sense that and it will give you a little beep to let you know and maybe give you a little warning to say, hey, you might want to check because you're coming up fast on objects. So that's driver alertness. It lets you know if you haven't taken a break. All view round monitor. So it's got it's got cameras in the mirrors and cameras front and rear, and it projects that up onto the main screen. So you have an entire reverse camera or monitor, as you would say, entirely around the vehicle. So to park it forward, to park it in reverse, or even side in shopping centres, it's a fantastic display. It's on all of Nissan's premium models. Because this is a premium model, it's standard. Intelligent cruise control, also known as adaptive cruise control. So it doesn't just set a speed for cruise, it actually sets a distance, and it'll maintain the distance. It'll do its own braking. It won't let you get close. If you're on the highway and someone pulls in front of you, and it'll actually brake, back off or brake to maintain a distance. Rear cross traffic alert is great when you're reversing out and cars are flying in behind you. The vehicle's radars in the rear actually sense that and it lets you know as well. So there's a lot of safety in there. Lane intervention, what we were talking about before as far as people moving into your lane. Blind spot warning, it's got the lights in the mirrors to let you know when someone's sitting in your blind spot. And it has a sound for pedestrians. I haven't activated that one. Haven't tested that theory yet, but apparently it does. Intelligent auto headlights. So when your wipers are active, headlights come on automatically. And high beam assist adjusts the headlights up or down, depending on the weight of the car, just to make sure that you're getting your correct vision all the way around. So here we touch on the service and maintenance intervals. So it's saying there, your main inspection is 10,000 Ks or 12 months. At this stage, it's actually 20,000 Ks or 12 months. So the warranty on the car is 5 years or unlimited kilometres, and the electrical components, because we get a lot of questions on that, is actually 5 years, 100,000. But state of health for the batteries is 8 years and 160,000 kilometres. So Nissan will warrant the batteries for 8 years or 160,000. If it goes under 9 bars, it gets replaced. So there's a small amount of degradation allowed, but if they degrade further, they get replaced.
9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. So it's a really good. The other thing that they haven't had in this presentation that they went through with us is there's also, and they've done this with previous LEAF, is there's also a program where owners getting beyond that period, updating and getting new batteries, when the batteries need to get replaced, they're actually going 50-50 on the cost of batteries. So they're really backing people in that way. They're also probably figuring that the battery costs are going to come down in that time, because it seems to be at the moment. One of the advantages that Nissan has, and from what we've been told, is that a lot of the other manufacturers use they have to use batteries from Samsung and everything else. Nissan actually has their own batteries. So that's why, because with EVs, there's actually been battery shortages globally. Kia's faced that problem at the moment, where their parent company, Hyundai, that owns Kia, has actually taken most of their allocation for batteries. So that's why we couldn't have our Kia models launched in Australia this year, because they had a big order overseas in Europe. One of the countries actually ordered the entire year's production of electric cars, and so it took all of Kia's batteries to be used in Hyundais for that order. It was one of the, whether it was Sweden or somewhere like that, they actually ordered the entire production. So it was a phenomenal amount. So the take up for them has been huge. So I'll just grab that service cost. So the service cost for the LEAF, 20,000 kilometres or 12 months, is $237. So it's not very much compared to a conventional car. 40,000 kilometres in 2 years is 317. 60,000 kilometres in 3 years is 247. And 80,000 Ks is 330. So then it goes back to 257 and then 348. So there's no service there more than $350. So compared to a conventional car, as far as servicing goes, it's extremely cheap in that way. I mean, I guess it should be. There's not really a lot to do on them. I've actually got the list of the items that they do, and there is a bit of inspection that goes in there. The dealership's policy from this stage, from what we are aware, is you would get a valet wash every time the car's brought in for service. Your service would be completed and the car would be fully recharged again, which is something obviously you don't get with an all-petrol car. I mean, you don't come in and get a full tank of fuel when you go out. So they're the sorts of things that is slowly being rolled out across the network. But apart from that, we think, because we're learning all the time, it's something new, it's a whole new direction for us, new customers as well. And we also acknowledge that people within the electric network, like yourselves, are far more knowledgeable than what we are, what we'd ever know about it. You've been working on it for many years, where we're just new to it. So we're always looking for feedback as well. So that's the entire presentation on the LEAF. If you have any questions, fire away.
Yeah, I have two. One is, should it be kept fully charged, or can you keep it sort of down around 70–80%? And the other question is, when will it be available with a tow bar?
I've had the tow bar question already, which is great. I've already approached Nissan Australia and they gave me a blank look. Then they said, why would you need a tow bar? And I said, well, okay. I've already been asked that question about when it has a tow bar. The ironic thing, the answer is at this stage, they're coming back to me and they're going to tell me if it's ever going to be available. At this stage, there's been no outlook on a tow bar at all. So from what I can gather, nobody has done any engineering on a tow bar for any electric cars at all that have come through from the 2 manufacturers or 3 manufacturers that we look at right now. Ironically, where the power plant and the powertrain is made in Dandenong, they make the tow bars for Nissan. So it's actually made in the same location and the engineers are there. So we can, we will communicate that as soon as a decision is made. We can let everybody know, obviously let Sally know and everybody else. But at this stage, there is no tow bar for them.
All right, just before the next question, I'll just say, Mark was kind enough to bring in a few dealer freebies, so the clever and concise questions will score a prize, and seeing Adrian ask my favourite question about tow bar.
Hope you like coffee.
I'm really worried about.
Yes?
What's the kilowatt output going for vehicle-to-grid setup? What's the planned output for that?
For the
kilowatt capacity output.
The discharge, the bi-directional charger.
That's something I'll have to check out. I did bring some technical information.
Yeah, no, that's all right.
Yeah, that's a very good question. Yes?
The state of health of the battery, on the previous cars it was displayed on the dash, but I've been reading the manuals online, and I can't find the state of health indication. Do you not have that on the dash now?
Can you repeat the question, please?
No, that's all right. I think I understand. So you mean you're asking about the state of health for the batteries. So you mean the battery charge that's currently in the car, or the actual health of the batteries?
On your previous Nissans,
yeah,
there were two rows of bars, one for the charge,
yeah,
and one for the state of health. The state of health was 12 bars, and as the battery deteriorated, those outside bars dropped. Well, on the manuals that I've read, I can't find a state of health indication on the dash, but you actually talk about state of health in your presentation of 9 bars. How do we know what it is?
With our program that we went through, it's actually plugged into the Nissan, at the Nissan dealership. They actually go through state of health every time it comes in for an inspection.
So it's not on the dash?
It's not on the dash as far as I'm aware.
Okay.
Roger?
When you service.
Yeah.
When you come in for a service, it actually tells you what your state of health is on your servicing.
Okay. Roger's got a
Yes.
question.
You said that the new battery is the same size as the current one. I'm wondering if you're able to fit the new battery into the old Model Leaf.
We're not able to do that.
Why is that?
They told us that we couldn't do that. We did ask that question. So apparently we cannot put the new model into the old model. It is effectively the same size or the same amount and the same weight, but yeah, it's not.
So no reason given.
Differently.
Oh, well, they told us it was the way it's engineered. All the electronics was different, they told us. So it's just something that you couldn't do. Yes.
Chatting with the guys earlier, there seems to be a concern about insurance on electric vehicles in this country, like many other problems we experience. Could you give some idea of why it's sometimes up to 6 times a normal car's insurance?
That's interesting, actually, because we haven't done an insurance quote through, because Nissan have their insurance as well. I would be interested in actually doing a quote and seeing whether it is. Because at this stage, I haven't had that question before, or I haven't been told that it's exorbitant. I guess that's something that we'd have to
Some
investigate.
guys it's out to $3,000.
Wow, that's insane, really.
Sorry, John, is that your quote?
That was a Tesla.
That was a test.
That was from RAA.
Yeah, a David.
$3,060.
Yeah,
Can I just
comment on that?
What's
You
your
shop around
No, a
insurance
Tesla.
for electric cars is no problem.
Oh, okay.
You just got to shop around. So the RAA is outrageous; they're completely off the charts.
Yeah.
But AEVA and places like that absolutely fine.
And Shannon's are fine.
I just got a quote for a $92,000 Tesla from Amy for $760 a year.
Wow.
Did it yesterday.
That's great shopping. Yeah.
Shop around. They don't allow you to choose your own insurance, but it's a budget insurance. But so they're definitely good value out there. Shop around.
Yeah, I know Nissan is backing with their vehicles. Nissan's running their own finance arms through St George, and they're also doing their own insurance as well. And it'd be interesting for me personally to get a quote, and I could come back with any feedback on that. I mean, everybody's different, location's different, storage is different, but a generic quote's going to tell us. So it's a good question though, because I haven't had that before.
Can I just one other comment? Sorry, getting back to the tow bar situation. I'm the founder of the Nissan LEAF Australia Facebook page, so if anyone wants to join that, go ahead. But one of the things people really want a tow bar for, other than towing, is for a bicycle rack. And that's the biggest issue, is everyone would love to put their bikes on that. And you can't have a tow bar.
Okay, so no one makes an actual bicycle rack though that can be used.
Well, there's the ones that fit on the back window and all that. But then, with e-bikes around, they're a bit heavier, and people want a tow bar, so conventional tow bar, bicycle rack on the back. They can carry 2 bikes, 3 bikes.
One of the accessories that Nissan has, I think, is the roof bars that run the bike racks. But that's once again roof bar and roof mounted
You want
bikes.
to lift an electric bike up
Yeah,
on
not
top
for-
of
It is not ideal.
No.
Carbon fibre is good, but not for you.
Yeah.
Mark, you mentioned that with the batteries with a laminated lithium construction. Do you know what the chemistry is?
I don't, I'm sorry. That one's way beyond me. I can find out any of this information, but
I can tell you what I read.
yes.
Could you tell us of Nissan Australia's strategies in marketing, what they're doing over the next year or so to push these cars out?
Well, you've probably already seen the adverts that have been on television. I don't know if anyone's seen them already. They've been advertised quite heavily across networks right now. Nissan LEAF is actually a strategy that they're going to be running extensively till the end of this year. I haven't got the numbers on there. They actually ran through numbers of what they anticipate, but there has been a very good take-up in New South Wales already of sales for these cars. They had an idea around 400 pre-sales for these cars before they even launched. which was substantially more than what we ever had with the first edition of LEAF. But the inquiry level that we have had from a dealership level already is very strong as well. One thing that we've had, if I have a Hyundai hat on at the moment, the problem we had with Hyundai is we didn't have enough cars either. They just didn't bring enough cars in, and a lot of people only had a limited allocation of cars. So with Hyundai, you had multiple models or different variants of that, from an economy model to a luxury model, and dealerships only had small allocation, so they only really wanted to sell the premium ones and with that small allocation, and not enough of them are getting out there. There's a lot of people who are waiting 6 months to get a car right now with that. With the LEAF, the one thing that I can say is that there's actually much more of them going to be available coming into Australia. There's a lot here already now, and there's a lot more that's coming. And Nissan is allocating cars, obviously, via orders, but a lot of the orders are being filled within a short period of time. To give you an idea, right now on the ground, I think we have 4 available. If someone wanted them, 4 of them are ready for immediate delivery, pretty much, within 2 weeks. So,
are all dealerships selling the LEAF, or is it only individual selected few?
Every Nissan dealership is capable of selling a LEAF if they agree to the programs. Because the thing with the LEAF, it's not just ordering the car and being able to sell it. It's actually being able to maintain it. And there's a lot of training goes in with the technicians, because once again, we've had a complete rejig of how our technicians actually operate on these cars. We have a special bay. They have special clothing that they use to service these cars. And they are specially trained technicians for that. So they have to actually comply to these programs. So at this stage, not every Nissan dealer has agreed to. However, for us in South Australia, 3 of our Nissan dealerships have signed up for that.
And just on that, what training are you giving your salespeople as opposed to your nice vehicles?
Yes, very interesting, because Nissan went through that as well. And the hardest thing for us, because it is an entirely new thing, I was lucky enough to go to the pre-launch that we had, but not everyone could do that. And really, basically, they're going to be learning as they go on the ground, and people like yourselves that are far more knowledgeable are actually going to assist everyone in getting up to speed as quick as you can. What's that?
It'd be your job to teach them too, because you went.
Well, that's right. It is up to us. I've been trying to educate them, actually get them in the car as well. But for us, it's actually a whole different sales program as well. They recognise that people interested in these vehicles are an entirely different customer base than buy petrol cars. So it's a whole different way of selling, actually, because we understand that these people know far more than we do about it when they come in. So,
do you have any plans to bring in the Nissan Note, which is a smaller car?
We asked that because the Nissan Note, as we said, is actually the #1 seller and is fantastic. But at this stage, they've told us there's no plans to bring in Note. I think it's a cost.
How much smaller is the car?
Well, the Nissan Note apparently is about the size of a smaller hatchback, say Toyota Yaris or Honda Jazz. Apparently, it's similar in size to that. So the thing that we have in Australia is our high cost. When we bring it in, it's going to be very hard to we feel more of an obstacle. This is according to Nissan. It's more of an obstacle to sell a small car like that for the same price as that, because their cost base is very similar. So they're going to have to sell the much smaller car for the same price as these. And already these are very cost prohibitive for us. Like the amount of margin in one of these cars is very, very minimal. So,
Does the current model have a head-up display?
no,
Why not?
I'm not sure. They don't have the heads-up display.
Extra
Yeah.
cost.
Air
Yes.
conditioning. Air conditioning.
Air conditioning, standard.
Okay, just you didn't mention it. And I was wondering.
Oh, sorry, yeah. I know, sorry, that's me assuming, but yeah, air conditioning standard in every vehicle at this stage for all of those. So it is standard in that.
How deep a water can you drive through?
I haven't had that question yet, although we were told that it is waterproof, and that you can drive through water
So
with
you
it.
can go up to the tops of your
They actually did give us that, but I would have to find the exact millimetres. But they did say that you could go through water; it wasn't a danger.
You're right up to the doors, like your windows.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh well, out to the windows. I'm not sure on that.
Well, it's a fairly common thing for me, so I just want to know whether I can go through the water or not.
Sorry?
Well, it depends on whether it's raining that day or not.
Well, the warranty's 8 years or 160,000 kilometres. It's always transferable to. Yeah. So they're looking at an extended life for that.
All right, is that a quick follow-up, Mark?
Has this model got a speed alert on it? Because the previous model doesn't.
I'd have to check on that. It may. I haven't used it yet. I haven't seen that. I know it's got lots of monitors and lots of reminders. But at this stage, I can actually check the brochure and see if it does. I can answer that for you.
Someone brings in a second-hand LEAF or a new note from overseas under our SENS legislation. Will you service it?
That discussion has already been through with Nissan. As far as I'm aware, we would service it, but your warranty is for things like that Nissan subsidise is not covered.
Okay, so you will service.
We'll service it.
Service imported.
Yeah.
Okay, that's really good news, actually. Okay. All right, we've got a couple of last questions here. Yeah, we've got people
Yeah.
back here.
Has there been any feedback given the summer in Europe and I understand this battery doesn't have any liquid thermal management. Has there been any degradation in performance over summer?
I haven't heard any degradation at all in that,
Might be a bit new.
but it is very new for us as well. I just don't have any information with that.
Sorry, one question over
Now
there.
you're talking about connecting to the grid down the track. Is there a portable version available so you can get a 240 outlet from the car? Or?
I'm not aware of that. They've just told us that it is home connectable and that the software is coming for it. And they did tell us that the full charge on the car will power a standard size home for 3 days. So it's substantial. But that software they did say it's not here now, but the car, if you buy the car now, it's all capable, it's ready to go for it. It's simply software. So we'll come into the dealership to have the software done. And they said, it was a couple of months ago that they were talking about it, but it'll be 8 months, something like that. It's at this stage, as soon as they can redo the software for Australia, it'll come through. But you guys would know as well if there's anything else that has that capability. But as far as we're aware, the LEAF is the only one that's capable.
Is there a last question up the back, or is that where you
I was
Yes.
going to ask, in terms of servicing you, it seems a very cheap price, and I've got an IMEF which I'd love to bring in and get a service for $250. Is that a possibility?
Is it like a LEAF to service? That's the thing I don't know. Well, simply for us, Nissan's not the only one that's got cheap servicing. I mean, for us, we know Hyundai has $199 cab service on some of their models and on some of their services. So we've got the list of the items that get done. I think it's only about 45 minutes for an inspection. So in reality, it's not going to be that expensive. Not good for service departments over the years.
All right, Richard.
Yeah.
Will you service my homemade Nissan Exa?
I remember X's. I was with Nissan then.
That's a good question. I'm sorry we haven't got any more prizes.
But yeah,
for that one.
that is a great question, and I couldn't tell you. We would have to speak to the service manager on that one.
All right, I think that's enough. Just as a reminder, these brochures about the car, there's dozens of them over there on the table for anyone that's interested. And I think it's time you all thanked me in joining Mark for a very informative presentation.